Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. Today's guest is a Newport legend, Kathy McQuillen, the now former manager of Ferrant Greenhouses, better known as Ferrant's Flower Shop. Welcome to the show, Kathy.
Hi, how you doing, Scott?
Oh, I'm doing fine. What do you think about the legend bit? Because you are a legend.
Well, I don't know if that means I'm famous or infamous or what. I think
So
it just means I'm old and I've been around here for a long time.
And just think, your mother's still alive and she's 94.
Yeah.
You're going to pull off 94?
Huh?
Are you going to live to be 94?
God, I don't know. I think now that I'm not working, maybe I could, but health-wise, I think it's too bad I had to get out, but I was just burning candle at both ends, and if I'd gone back, I probably wouldn't be here today.
No. So your family, well, between the Jenks family, which your mother was a Jenks, Betty Jenks, and the McQuillen family, you owned the Ferrants for almost 100 years. So
almost. My grandfather started it in 28, so pretty close. 5 years from now. Yep.
And so one thing you and your mother have in common, and here's a photo for those who are watching this by TV and not radio. The one thing you have in common, you both actually grew up in the business.
Yep.
Yeah. So you've been in it for all of your life. Your mother's been in it and hers. How was the decision made to finally close Newport's oldest business? Because I should note, as you know, the business was actually much older. It was the last 100 years. It was just owned by your family. So it was Newport's oldest business. Mm-hmm. So you want to tell the listeners what led to this decision?
Well, it's a combination of things. I had no idea when it closed that was going to happen because I probably fooled myself. But through the years, we had downscaled through the years. But the first time that Spates closed, everybody refound us once we were off Main Street. And it was right at Valentine's and we got bombarded. Thank God, though, I had two of Spates girls helping me. However, then they got used to being around and they were around once in a while. Then they got other jobs. And that's just at the same time that Spates got bought by the Wrights. So when they decided to close a few months ago, it all hit the fan again, and I'm pretty much a one-man band as far as being the designer, the phone answerer, take all the orders. I have people that help do cleaning and take. My mother and the other girls would take care of the flowers and things, but the main product that went out came from me. And I was right back to burning candle at both ends with funeral works and weddings and a lot of things. And I just couldn't stop. I mean, I'd either be late at night or I'd be going in at 5 a.m. And I'm 67 now. I'm not 25 anymore. And eventually, because I already had COPD from back in 2007, which really hadn't bothered me much. I've been fine with it. And all of a sudden, I was getting short of breath, but I just kept going. And then one day, thank God it was on a Sunday, not in the middle of work, and my brother walked in and said, I'm getting you to the emergency room. And all my family came home, and they all said, you're retiring right now.
Hey, you actually thought there was a question that you were going to die right then.
I felt that way when I got in the car. My sister took me over to the ER, and I felt like I was so tired that I would have fallen asleep, and if I'd done that, I would have gone, and it didn't matter. Not that I wanted to go. it didn't matter because I was so tired that my sister kept me awake till I got there. It was crazy. But so they told me I had to get done, but the bottom line was mine. And I sat for a couple of days here at home when I got home, and I made the decision. I remember I talked to you because that article is coming out, and I wanted to make sure you knew what was happening so you didn't finish up the article before you knew the end of it.
Okay.
And you said to me, when you're 100% sure that that's what you're going to do, let me know and I'll let people know. And so I thought about it, and I put reality in perspective and said, if I go back down there, there's no other flower shop, there's no other designers to come in. The same thing's going to happen all over again. I'm going to die. So reluctantly and very emotionally, I called you and I told you that's it. We're done.
Yeah, you were telling me you shed a lot of tears.
Oh yeah,
over it.
yeah.
I gotta say I thought it was rather humorous the way you told me you'd almost died. You called up from the hospital laughing, saying, "Scott, I almost bought the farm."
Yeah.
And so how do you feel now that you've had a few weeks to really sit back, relax, try to recover your health, and just realize this is done? But have you got to the point that it's okay, or have you got there yet?
Well, it's kind of weird. I think about this once in a while. I'm okay with it. At first, when I'd wake up in the morning, it'd be like, I got to get going. And then I'd say, wait a minute, where am I going to? So then I'd calm down some, and I could relax and have coffee and breakfast. But I still feel a little bit of, not urgency, but a little bit like I'm on vacation or something, or
Right.
Saturday and Sunday still feels like a Sunday to me, as far as the day you don't work.
And how's your mother doing?
She's doing pretty good. Her memory's not quite as astute as it was, but I think it's because she was so busy at the greenhouse and not so much. I'm going to get her working on some double-ended berries for some wreaths that we ordered. Every year she has Louise from the post office make her a bunch of wreaths that she gives to her kids and grandkids. And she usually puts the cones in the berries. So this year, it's getting harder for her, I had Louise do the cones, but we've got plenty of berries left. So I had my brother bring some up from the greenhouse, and she'll be wiring the berries and Louise just delivered some of the wreaths today, so my sister can take them home with her this weekend. And we'll be putting the berries in, and I'm going to make some bows to put on them so that they've got a touch of us in the wreaths.
In the article I wrote about you and your mother, this is how I feel. It's you were co-workers, mother and daughter, business partners. You were also your mother's eyes in the last few years, and I watched the way you communicated. It seemed like you were also, if not best friends, really good friends. Is that how accurately did I describe your relationship together?
Pretty much, yeah. We were together pretty much everywhere. If I went delivering, she wanted to go for the ride, and if I went to Burlington, she always went with me. What I would do then, I'd take her to her sister's house, drop her off, so they could visit, and then I'd go around and get the car wash, go to Clausen's and pick up my plants, go to the Fryerhofer bread store. I had a list. Of course, when you go out of town, especially with gas, you make a list of 10 things you got to do while you're there, and make sure you make the most of the trip. So that's what I did, and I left her at her sister's house on Park Street in Essex Junction, and she would get to visit.
So you decided to close the business, and you're not going to. Are you trying to sell it, or are you just closing it? And
No, it's just closed. It's an old building. So what we would be selling, and a lot of used things that need repairing, and that we would just fix as we go. And it no, and the building technically is owned by my mother anyway. It's all Betty McQuillen. Parents technically on a dollar deal rented from my mother.
right.
So
So
no, she won't. We won't be selling it. There's nothing really to sell. We'll some people are coming in to buy vases and stuff that they want for their own place, but that's it.
well, it's too bad you weren't a younger person, because I know
I say that every day.
because I know I'm not the only one who've joked to you that with marijuana legalization, you could have transitioned over to a grow operation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How many people told you that over the years?
I'll tell you what, that was suggested to me back in the 70s.
yeah. Just have it hidden amongst the.
Yeah, we call it Newport's best kept secret.
Yeah. Hey, with your parents, a lot of people are, when you get older, most people don't think of older people as once young. Well, your parents were once young. Your father, Jim McQuillen's now gone, but here is a photos of the two of them in the military. Yes, your mother, here's the other thing is, a lot of times people don't think of women your mother's age as having been in the military, but here she is, and here your father is.
Yeah.
And anybody who know your mother and knew your father would obviously know which one you take after when it comes to your not outspokenness, but your love of people.
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
Well, my mother loves people too, but my mother liked being in the background.
Right.
She was the woman behind the man. And my father was the outgoing guy. I take more after him. I'm not one for loving being in the spotlight. I think he sort of liked it. But I'm more outgoing. I don't mind talking to people and being a spokesperson for things. But she definitely would rather just be on the backside of it, doing things she did best.
Yeah, and and the thing is, I think the one reason people just love you is you also don't seem to care what somebody's title is or what they have in their wallet when how you communicate with them.
No, people are people.
This is going down on. So your store went on Main Street. I think we determined it was 1966. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I think August of '66. Yeah.
And that gave you much more. It gave the business much more visibility, especially to spontaneous buyers.
Right. Exactly.
And how old were you? You were what, 11 at the time?
Yeah, well, I would have been 10 and a half, right in there, yeah, because I was born January 56.
And then you used to leave Sacred Heart and go down and work.
Yeah, yep. I remember going down, especially prom time, I remember going down, walking down after school and helping to get all the prom flowers out.
It's interesting until I started writing this article about you, I didn't realize how many, I know you've dealt with flowers for 3 or 4 generations of my family for different situations. And then even my grandmother's first cousin, it would be first cousin, worked for you for decades.
And who was that?
Named not Mrs. Tweed, the other one.
Marguerite Courier.
Yeah, Marguerite.
Yeah, that's right. You are related to her. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother's.
Yeah,
So I want
she
to.
worked there since I was 3 months old. But Lorette worked there since my mother was 14.
Right. Yeah. So you had some long-serving people
Oh
there.
yes, yes, yeah.
You
Oh,
know, back to
you know what I wanted before I forget. I wanted to tell you when you were talking about a lot of things we've done. One thing I've never mentioned is that we did do a famous wreath for somebody once for a
no.
funeral. When Winston Prouty died,
Oh,
his
really?
service was at the United Church, and we did a wreath from President and Mrs. Nixon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you didn't actually communicate with them, did you?
No, no, it was a floor the White House florist that called us and ordered it.
So, yes, that's interesting. Well, I
Yeah.
got a little editing to do on part two. Uh,
And you
part,
know
part,
what really got me is I had gotten a movie camera back then, an old fashioned those, rectangular movie cameras,
right.
and I went down and I because there was all sorts of dignitaries there, and I stood outside the church and I videotaped everybody going in and stuff. Guess what? My camera was
What?
my camera was empty.
Oh,
Oh, I was so upset.
yeah, it'd be interesting who some of them were. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an interesting story.
yeah,
Now, on Main Street, we've talked about it. I said I'm going to have to do another story that focuses not so much on your business, but things you saw on Main Street and
yeah,
experienced on Main Street all those years, because
yeah,
you have such a colorful way of telling stories. Like you had a particular fondness, as I do, for some of the characters on Main Street
yeah,
throughout the decades who I call it, they lived life according to their own terms.
yeah,
They had issues, but they made the best of life. And I think a lot of people downtown actually were very good to them, whether it was Sophie, whether it was
yeah,
George,
yeah,
Nelson, Wayne,
yeah.
everybody. Didn't you think most people treated them decently?
I do. I really do. So some people like misunderstood them, but they they were good people. Wayne used to stop in the flower shop all the time, and so did Nelson. He used to stop in and show me the latest album he bought from Walt's Corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's a couple of photos of the Main Street store. I think one of these photos, the nighttime photo, was taken, 2013?
The nighttime one. No, it wouldn't. Yeah, it would have been 13 because we closed the beginning of 14. That was the
Right.
last Christmas. Yep.
Right. And I took the other one, I believe, in 2010, the street view of it.
Yeah.
But I often wonder what your life would have been like if you hadn't opened that store, because it became you. The store became you, and you became the store. And I think you had a lot of
That's a
fun.
good question. I really don't know. I really don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
glad it happened because it wouldn't have been the same working up at the greenhouse, but I wouldn't have known any different if we didn't have the store.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I know you've shared a lot of photos of different people, especially at some of the what a lot of people call dive bars, including you working in some of them. When I
yeah.
say dive bar, I don't mean that in a negative term, but that's what society calls them.
Well, some people
Um,
come into town. That's what they want to find. They want to see
right.
normal, everyday people, and they want to know where the dives are.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you, we're going to get on to another topic real quick, but I'll always remember this is when there was talk about tearing your block down to make it into a multi-use spectacular
Yeah,
complex.
yeah,
Um, when one reporter went in to Jasper's And I happen to love Jasper's. I don't get there very often, but when I go there, I'm treated really well. They interviewed him. They said, that's never going to happen. Well, at least in their time. They were very, and people like, oh, who do they know? What do they know?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those people have been around a long time, and a lot of them have BS meters. And I wish they had been wrong, but they weren't wrong. And if I recall right, let's talk about that. When you even were skeptical at first, weren't you?
Oh, I was, and I stayed skeptical. But just one reporter came up from, I think, New Hampshire or something, or somewhere in southern Vermont, I can't remember. They asked me, and I just told them I was cautiously optimistic about it. And when he came back after this whole thing happened, I told him, I don't like being wrong. I love being right. But in this case, I wish I'd been wrong.
Right.
But I knew I was. I just knew I wasn't. Not at that point where I said cautiously optimistic. But just the way things were going, where other things were getting bought before anything was settled in Newport, I was wondering, where is all this money going? Yeah, and then the first time Doug was supposed to get his money in the fall, I believe in the fall or the summer, and the day it was supposed to be delivered, it wasn't. It didn't happen until, I think, December. I thought something smells funny here. And I knew from then on that something was wrong. Something was definitely wrong.
How did it feel? I know you missed your store coming down. You had hoped to see it actually come down, but they got an early start. But
Yeah.
How did it feel to have the building, the once jewelry store, turned flower shop? How did it feel to see it gone?
It was all, but for one thing, that they went down on my favorite day of the year, which is St. Patrick's Day. And I was heading down to bring my brother over to work. It was like 7 a.m. I thought I'd be able to say my nods then, but they got an early start. They had where Brenda's restaurant used to be and the flower shop were gone, and they were working their way up. And so I cried all the way home. But my friend Lee and I, who celebrate St. Patrick's Day, he picked me up that day and he said, "Well, we're heading out." And we went out and walked to Montgomery and to an Irish bar down there. And they're always closed on Tuesdays. I think it was a Tuesday, and I can't believe they were closed on Tuesday. And they had 35 kinds of Irish whiskey there. So we couldn't stay there, so we went back to Pie and Pasta, and had a Guinness. And then we went down to Jasper's for one, and then we went home. But at least I got out and got to talk about it and stuff, and so I felt a little better. But first thing in the morning, it was a hard thing when I saw that gone, when I was expecting to see it.
You've witnessed the evolution of Newport for quite a number of years, and you've actually seen its steady decline. And as you said, not any one thing spelled the end. Like, this 2015, and there was as you said, there was the interstate, the railroad. It was a whole series of things you said.
Right.
And how do you foresee the future of Newport at this rate? Because the last decade or so has really had some struggles. Do you think Newport can ever overcome it?
I don't know if I'm really qualified. I don't go down street a lot, but I do notice that it seems to me that the streets are always packed with cars. Most of the restaurants are busy. I really don't know. I don't know. The grocery stores stay busy, but everybody's got to eat. It seems to me there's a lot of people around, but I just don't know what they're doing, or where they're going. And there are a lot more activities going around too. That I can see from Facebook.
Right.
Different things going on all the time, which is, I think that's a big plus, that there's a lot of different things going on.
And I think with the leadership, the change in leadership, you know, from the very top, I think now, I think that's going to help as well, just for the sake of change. I think some fresh ideas are coming in, and I think more important, and I think more important, there's an increase in number of just residents or area people who are starting to become involved, including hosting different events. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough, long slog, but I think as new faces become leaders.
There's a lot of positive things going on.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's going to take a while, but there is a start to it, which is good.
If we didn't have an outstanding mayor right now, I would tell you to run for office in your spare time.
And my brothers and sisters would shoot me. My father was asked to run for mayor once, years and years ago. He was the town's first zoning commissioner, but he had since had a mild heart attack. That was in his late 40s, I think. And they asked him to run for mayor, and he was involved in everything: the Rotary, the Legion, the BF, everything. And my mother said, absolutely not.
Right.
Said, if you want a divorce, run for mayor.
Right. Okay, well, we've got to wrap this up, because we could actually write a book about your memories and stories. Couple minutes. What do you have to say about your supporters throughout the years?
About my customers and people.
Yeah.
Oh God. We have had the most wonderful group of people, that not only the people that have worked for us, but people that are customers, long-term customers, even the ones that call just once a year for like a holiday, they became close. You couldn't ask for a better type of work than to be involved with people, and especially in the kind of situations they have, like, you know, birthdays, weddings, funerals, all that type of thing. Even even the funeral work, like, it's very, very intimate things, and people share stories about themselves when they're into these situations, and it's something that you always have with you. And I can't thank people enough for being so gracious and letting us be part of their lives. It's something that it's one of the bittersweet things that made me cry when we closed. It's the main thing, was the people.
Well, thank you and your family for all you've done for the community, because your entire family have been an important part of this community, this region, and I think people are going to miss you as in business, but I think everybody totally understands.
Oh yes, everybody who's done that, they've said no, and then they go, you know, your health is more important. You know, it's a no-brainer, you know, and it's that's just the way it is. Life goes on, but I'm still getting used to it, but I am getting there.
Okay, and thank you for coming on the show.
Okay, Scott. Happy Thanksgiving.
And you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.